let's face it, these women are in the sex industry and how they look matters. And as
Yeah.
much as we talk about in a massage parlor about connection, mileage, the session they give, as much as those things are important, let's face it, the way we look, or they look, I should say, is important. And there's a huge value placed on that. If they are not getting picked based off their outward appearance, they are not profitable. They are not earning for the day. Welcome back to Muse on the Mic. I'm Riley.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for joining us again on another great episode of Muse on the Mic. We're so glad you're here. Welcome to everyone's new, and thank you for returning for everyone who's coming back every week to watch these episodes. Don't forget, every Monday, a new episode on YouTube, every Wednesday, a new episode on Patreon, and Sunday nights at 6 p.m. for Just the Tip with Riley. You guys got to get to the Patreon because that's where so much magic happens.
We do.
So, what are we doing today, Riley? Let's introduce the topic. Tell us all.
We're jumping into a topic that we've been itching to do for a while. It's a big one, and there's a lot of different kind of facets to it. We're talking about beauty standards, body image, and really talking to the women in this episode. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. We're talking to you gentlemen as well, because as much as we like to do episodes that bring empathy to men, I think this one's going to bring some empathy to you guys when you think about women, especially in the sex industry.
Yeah, definitely. There's for sure connect the dots between the everyday standards and expectations and how those are kind of amplified in the sex industry. I would assume Hollywood would feel the same, right? Because
For
it's
sure.
magnified and bigger and scarier.
Oh, I can't even imagine. I really can't.
Right? God love a celeb.
But I want to start with a really kind of quick, funny video. So we'll get a little giggle together. But I think it really highlights how oblivious at times men can be to even the beauty schedules and maintenance that women go through.
The maintenance, the price tag on the maintenance.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. Let's play the video.
I actually just don't understand men and how their brains work sometimes, because today I was just minding my own business and this guy comes up to me and he's like, I just wanted to say that you are so elegant. You are such a natural beauty. Yeah, I think that a woman can take one look at me and be like, that's fake. My jawline cost $10,000. Okay. My lips are clearly fucking done. My hair is $2,000. My lashes are $200 every 2 weeks. I don't understand. This is how much I can raise my eyebrows. And for some reason, and I get it all the time, men are like, you really have enough makeup on to season a fucking wok. And men are just like, they don't make them like you these days. Yes, they do. They make him they make him down at fucking Matty's Medi Spa, okay? With a needle and a fucking scalpel.
I think that video is so hysterical and adorable. Like, what normal man actually understands that women spend $10,000 on a jawline? Like, I'm sure that's absurd to most men, and probably even married men, that the woman's like hiding the visa statement, not even allowing him to see that she pays for a jawline. But it's a real thing. There is procedure after procedure that we do to preserve our youth. And it's wild.
You know what? I think it's gone even past preserving youth because, listen, girls in their 20s are all about it. And so there's, I've seen a little bit of controversy on, I want to say a little bit more TikTok than anywhere else, but the difference between how women who are in their 40s, late 30s, 40s right now look compared to girls in their 20s and how they look. And in some ways we look the same, which means who's aging better here? And is there a pro or a con to all of this extra stuff, especially in the face, right? That's done. Like Botox can be preventative of wrinkles, filler can do certain things, but if you go overboard, then you look like a desperate housewife. And they're all 40 something trying to claim their 20s. Do you want to look like that when you're 23? Probably not, right? So the standard affects women as well. We try to keep up with Hollywood, and yet, I mean, look at babes like J-Lo or Beyonce. Beyonce's my age. Like, same year, she's 6 months younger than me, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, listen, she also has access and financial resource that we just do not have, let's face it. But it actually, as you're saying that, reminded me, do you remember our first Botox appointment ever together?
Oh my God, yes. I absolutely remember we were terrified, first of all. We were
Yeah,
afraid of both the needles and the price tag because we were just clueless. Like, is this a $200 adventure? Is this a
right.
$2,000 adventure? Like, what is going to happen? I think it was a referral from my mom, was it
It
not?
was. It was.
Yeah, going to that place, which we've both since advanced from to better places. But at the
Hmm.
time, it was a great first choice, I think. It was a good
Yeah,
experience. But yeah, clueless and concerned about the same wrinkles that still concern me now.
I know. It's a slippery slope, guys, for those of you that don't know. And let's face it, a lot of men actually do Botox and filler as well. But the point of this episode is life as a woman. It is difficult and it starts as a child. It really does. It's a part of our upbringing that beauty is there's a importance held on beauty, I should say. And you would think as
Yeah.
we get older and more mature that would lessen, but I don't believe it does. And I think it even becomes more of a vicious cycle. And especially when we start to tie it in or relate it to our industry, let's face it, these women are in the sex industry and how they look matters. And as
Yeah,
much as we talk about in a massage parlor about connection, mileage, the session they give, as much as those things are important, let's face it, the way we look, or they look, I should say, is important. And there's a huge value placed on that. If they are not getting picked based off their outward appearance, they are not profitable. They are not earning for the day.
it's true. I think that even stems to us. I think that stems to front desk in a way as well. I mean, there's an expectation if you're two chicks that own a rub and tug, y'all better be hot,
Right.
because you can't just look like you rolled out of bingo. Like that's just not going to fly, right? And same with managers. We want a beautiful face at the front who represents what's about to walk down the hallway, the Muse Mile, as our manager Kit calls it, which I love. But that whole presentation, I mean, even that, I've always joked that it's a bit of a runway, and so
Right.
runway model, like these have to line up. Um, and we all know a good day and a bad day. I definitely had days when I used to work in the industry that I didn't feel like putting on a whole face beat of makeup and spend an
Mhm.
hour and a half curling my hair and like all these things. But at the end of the day, you can see your results when your wallet's a little lighter and you're like, shit, maybe I
Well, I
should
mean,
have done all that today.
it is a part of the job. Your appearance, your hygiene, these are things that matter. And I think it can be really difficult in our industry for the girls. And this is again to try to breed some empathy with you guys that, if you see the girl that maybe isn't smiling as much one day, and not that it's your concern to have to think this through, you're a paying customer, but just to
Yeah.
give you the inside information, is she feeling, defeated from not being picked? Has she changed her outfit 16 times to try to appeal to the customer? Is she
Yeah.
looking in the staff room at the gorgeous or perhaps younger girls around her and beating herself down? Like these are thoughts of women all the time, but in our industry, even more so.
It's true. And I remember us over the years being confused or impressed about girls that kind of went against the grain of expectation, right? We've had girls that are a solid 10, and sometimes they just don't catch that like popularity winged.
Yeah.
And yes, it could be sessions, and we take time to meet with them and discuss, like, well, what are you doing? What are you not doing? Like,
Yeah.
where are we missing the mark here? Let's like role play through a session. But we've also seen like 7 and 8s just blow numbers out the water. And we're like, what? We were almost hesitant to hire that girl. And lo and behold, she's a superstar. So the connection and stuff totally does matter. But I feel like even those girls, they may not have this standard like Hollywood or porno kind of look, but they still put in the effort to put together the package that they're looking to present. And it
Yeah.
may not be the package that every other parlor would choose to present, right? We
Mhm.
talk about it between you and I kind of candidly sometimes, like, okay, if that girl were to leave here, here's the places she'd never get hired or she would get hired.
Yep.
Or here's the places that are going to try and poach this girl from us because of how she looks, despite if her services are good or bad, just based
Mhm.
on look alone. And it can be a little confusing sometimes. I mean, if I was a 10 and a girl that was like a 6 was way busier than me, would I be confused? Would I feel a way about it? I mean, when I worked in a place that was almost exclusively girl next door. There was no bombshells. There was no stripperellas. It made it comfortable. We could all kind of lean into our uniqueness that way. And I think there's definitely an element of that at Muse. We love variety in the sense that like the unexpected can be fun sometimes, but we've definitely had girls that are so freaking hot or have like huge assets or something. And we're like, why is she not busier? She should be busier. And then other girls come in that can be super cash. They almost like, we have to like pull teeth to get them to put heels on to say hi to a customer, and they're picked every time. So the energy does play into it, but the pressures on and the confusion that can happen on a girl's self-esteem will definitely lead to that defeated day if that's the way a girl is feeling. But the outfit changes that you mentioned made me giggle because I hear it so much. It makes me laugh when we like stroll into the spa and someone is mid outfit swap and they're like, I saw, said hi to 2 walk-ins. They didn't pick me. So I have to put on my lucky dress. And I'm like, what's the lucky dress? Like,
lucky dress, I'm sure.
It's really funny. And yet we know the expectations at other spas are astronomical. And I think we make a point out of empathy for, ego and mental health to not put those expectations on them. But I mean, our geography wise, our closest competitor weighs people. And if they go above a certain weight, they're taken off schedule and lectured and embarrassed and humiliated and told they need to shed that holiday weight or whatever it is before they can get back in. We know some places out in the Wild West that force surgery on new hires and it's given as a loan. And if you don't do it, then you can't work here. Imagine having to work that debt off and so on and so on. It goes further.
I mean, it's so demeaning. And I mean, we definitely do employ all shapes and sizes, ethnicities. And I think we've seen it time and time again that confidence really is key. Because I can think of a few names, and I'm sure you'll know who I'm talking about, that by typical beauty standards, they are not the 10. Actually, they may not even be a 5, but they provide exceptional service and their ability to connect with clients is beyond the norm. Like they can walk into a room and captivate someone. And I think that's what is interesting about Muse, that we do employ all those different kind of personalities and looks that they can all thrive in our environment. Because really, why would we want something so cookie cutter? And like you said about the other spas or our competitors, even with the way they're told to dress, I know from, things I hear from girls I train, that is an absolute expectation to be in lingerie. And although most of our girls do wear lingerie, I always tell them in training, wear what you feel most confident in. Because if you're feeling sexy, you're going to exude that to the client. That is going to be what attracts him to you. But the idea that other spas not only tell them how to dress, how to look, what size to be, it just adds to this constant pressure that women in our industry feel. And I think it's sickening, really. And I think it causes a lot of mental health issues. I don't think clients always equate the price tag that goes along with maintaining themselves in the industry. And when you're young, you can get away with your youth, but let's face it, you get to a certain age and you have to keep up. And I even think of us being in this industry that I don't always have the best self-esteem. That's a fact. But I think a lot of it has to do with what I'm surrounded by. I am surrounded in my day-to-day job by some of the most beautiful women, youthful women. I'm not in an office with 52-year-olds and, some 30-year-olds. Like, we don't have that diversity. We are surrounded by beauty all the time, that I even relate that pressure back to us, that we feel that need to stay youthful.
I mean, we get older and they keep staying the same. Right?
I hate it.
Too. I remember thinking about it when we were younger. Like, we opened Muse when we were 28? And so it was very much like our peer group, and it was, even friends at the time joined the team and stuff like that. And it felt very same. We were all kind of on a playing field that way. And they're still 22, all of our team, not all of them, but like that age range, right? Those 20s. And here we are in our 40s, and the pressure is immense. Like that, the expectation even falls on us. Now, maybe if we weren't face forward, then that wouldn't be a factor. But I still don't know how people would navigate that, even if they weren't publicly face forward. If they're at, a family reunion or a Christmas celebration and family knows what they do, can you show up looking like a sack of potatoes and be like, ooh, I own the hottest strip club ever?
Right.
So weird. But yet that same standard doesn't apply to men, because we know a lot of the male owners in this industry, even in the escort like agencies and stuff, they are not, what's the nice way of putting this? I wouldn't put them as someone I would approach in public.
Not necessarily well put together.
Not well put together at all. Even just the attire, stains on their t-shirts when they come to meetings. Like, it's really bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Even think of famous, like, people like Hugh Hefner, a Larry Flint. I mean, these were not attractive men necessarily.
No.
He was okay in his younger years, but just in general, like, they don't have to present that way. You can be, the CEO or director of OnlyFans and not have to look any type of cookie cutter kind of expectation. And I guarantee even the guys that do, the turkey hair transplant and a little bit of Botox here and there, their beauty bills aren't the same. Like, people
No.
complain about rents in this city, and I'm like, you should see the beauty costs, because it's twice that. And sometimes that's monthly. So tell me what income I need. Tell me why girls do sex work.
Yeah. And I think
Tell me without telling me.
if you guys can keep anything in mind, especially those that venture onto the review boards, girls visit these boards too and read about themselves and their coworkers. And it could be one slight comment about, she had a lot of cellulite, let's say. If you want a big ass, there might be some cellulite that comes along with that, right, gentlemen? So
yeah.
Understand, who might be viewing this as well, and have a little bit of empathy, because one girl could read that and go into a tailspin of, I need to remove cellulite, I need to lose weight, I'm going to be, anorexic tomorrow. And I mean, that's extreme. I'm being dramatic here, but, be
happens.
sensitive to them hearing. And I mean, it's not just the way they look, but also beauty trends that change, because let's face it, as soon as they fit into one box, the box changes again.
Facts, right? And in my day, I remember even when we were like, teenage years, the supermodel era, right? The cover of Allure magazine, or to be on the front of Cosmopolitan, meant skinny, that like waif Kate Moss kind of Victoria's Secrets model vibe. And bootylicious wasn't a thing back then, right? Then it kind of morphed into the whole Pam Anderson, big tits, small body, right? And the blonde bombshell thing. Everybody bleached their hair till it fell out. The boob jobs were going crazy. And now it's BBLs everywhere, and everyone's got a fake butt. So like you're right, it changes, and it changes without forethought, which is interesting. Like, I have my augmentation done, but if suddenly, not that I ever did it for trends, but let's say I was in that position where that pressure was on me, and now flat-chested A cups were the new coveted thing.
Right.
What do? Right? Because these aren't fitting in an A of anything.
No.
It's not even capital A's. Like, it's not happening.
There's always going to be a beauty standard that you're not going to meet. So let's face it, if you have enough ass that you've got a nice ass, then likely your tummy's not as flat as it should be. Like, the whole thing is just fucking impossible. It's impossible. And as a woman, it's very hard mentally. And like I said, especially going into our industry, it can be really defeating at times for the women. So, I mean, women are such beautiful creatures, and I wish we could all see each other through the lens that, your coworker sees you, or that client. But we're tough on ourselves, that's for sure.
We really are.
Oh, hey, welcome back to Just the Tip with Riley. So today's segment is a delicious one. I hope you're hungry, gentlemen. Today we're discussing DATY, going down, clam diving, eating pussy. So today's less of a tip and more of a topic with some surprising facts for all you cunnilinguists out there. The vagina is feminine, it's erotic, but it's also a fountain of youth. Eating pussy can actually improve digestive health. If this tip isn't enough, subscribe to Patreon for the whole thing.
I try to remind girls all the time is, how would you treat your best friend about something like that? Would you see your best friend on vacation in bikini and be like, ooh, girl, that's cellulite? You got to
Right.
do something about that. You can't wear that. Put a cover up on. You would never, right? She's beautiful.
Mhm.
You love her inside and therefore out, right?
Yeah.
And listen, there are some people that love cellulite. There's some people that love some stretch marks,
Mhm.
right? Tiger stripes are hot. Like there's a lot of things you almost got to find your market. My taste in men really fits the market that I attract and that I'm attracted to. If
Right.
people were into like the skinny waif, that's not my kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
But I think the point you made about the review boards, and I don't always want to shit on the boards or the men that visit or that are members, but it can be such a hyper focus, like lens into some of the extremes of this industry that I'm not sure every guy that's ever written a review can really take it into account as how would I feel if this was written about me? Because there
Right.
is no such board, strangely, where
Mhm.
we review the customers, right? And I did a few times on the main review board with permission from the the moderator to do so. But I also had to be very kind and very glazed over. I mean, many aspects of it and what happened in the session and how I felt were authentic. But I steered away from giving someone a body part by body part rating system because
Mhm.
who needs to see that? I know how that feels, but I don't think there's many men out there have been graded on their, teeth, face, body, belly, dick size, testicles, ass smell, like all these different things. Because for us, it's categorized. Yeah. What if someone was like, nice guy, tips well, but ooh, that belly is just gross, or
Right.
oh, that dick is too small, or oh, his face is for the birds. At what point would that make him then have body dysmorphia and some issues, right? It would have the same effect. They're just not exposed to that like we are. And sometimes
Mhm.
I steer girls away from reading the boards because it can be very detrimental. And I think if you ever see, especially on like sex work Twitter, if you see a resistance to the review boards across the globe, every country has them, right? It's those kind of things that the girls don't like. And it's not that guys can't share information. You can't be model body, spectacular face, whatever. She's a 10 out of 10. But who wants to read that they're like, she's in shape, but could use a little work here, face 6, body 7.5, tits 3. Like, at what point are we breaking away the humanity from somebody and
Yeah.
literally just putting them in a point system? And patriarchy or not, that just defeats the purpose because shockingly, we can figure out, process of elimination sometimes who these gents even are, no matter how discreet they think they're being, because some of
Mhm.
them speak and behave the same way in person, right? So you can figure out, oh, this guy rates faces and no one's ever gotten more than a 6. It's gonna want to
Right.
see that guy because now you know what's coming, right? And it can work against you instead of just being like, a gorgeous girl, spectacular session. Here's why her service was amazing.
Mhm.
And I think guys, if they're too picky about the looks thing, they can miss out on those superstar girls sometimes because there are 10s that give amazing service, but there are
Yeah.
also 6, 7, 8s, 9s that give amazing service. And if you're not
Mhm.
willing to settle for an 8.5, then you're going to miss out on the so and so experience that everybody's talking about on the boards, or
Mhm.
maybe not talking about on the boards, but is actually fully booked, which is the Muse effect all the time, right? We are not often talked nicely about on the boards because
Yeah.
of our lovely competitors. But girls are still pumping out clients, pumping out numbers, their money, accomplishing their goal, and what they're supposed to do while giving amazing sessions to regulars that are scrambling for those appointments. And I think that, I mean, that's the name of the game for her and her income and her
Yeah.
goals. Um, but it can be a little confusing if a guy's just a walk-in and he doesn't really know who to pick or who's that girl I heard about or why does no one talk about that girl I just met her and she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really confusing. Same with stats. I was just thinking stats on like online profiles because
Right.
okay, everyone knows what 5'6" is, right? But even weights can come into what if she's really buff, really fit, gym body kind of girl, but her weight states that she's 156 pounds. There are some guys that would like, oh my God, she must be
Right.
fat because of that. Meanwhile, she's hotter than the volleyball players we just saw in the Olympics. Like, come on now. This girl's fit, fit, fit. Same with boob size, right? Like, anyone assumes that D must be huge boobs. Listen, these are not a D. I squeeze into a double D bra, but let me tell you, that ain't what it is. But if I were to put what it really is, if I had a bio online, I'd be bombarded by guys that are expecting huge natural boobs.
Yeah.
And the confusion can really come in because a full C can be huge. And yet a double D can be very flat with no bra on, or can be, not as lifted and all kind of the meat all together in one place. I know girls that are double Ds that can't actually get here for a titty fuck, like it really depends on what you're doing. Should I not have said that?
No, that's fine. I just like the visual.
For a Russian finish. But in general, like that can be deceiving, and that goes down to women as well, because we both know from having professional bra fittings that what you've spent most of your life thinking you are not. You're absolutely not. You could take your B34 and go walk out the door, because that's not you, and you're deceiving and lying to everybody, including yourself.
Yeah, I agree. But I hope the gentlemen throughout this episode just see women through a different lens, especially sex workers. And I know we have a few women, in particular sex workers, that watch the pod. And I hope you can relate and understand and know you're not alone, because I think there's so many women out there in our industry. And I mean, I'm sure the naysayers will be like, well, you chose to be in the sex industry. It's based on how you look. And fair point. I get that. But it doesn't mean that these girls are not human and that you shouldn't have empathy towards them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think take a chance sometimes, right? Like, go against your grain, because I mean, the point of, I think, a place like Muse, especially the fact that it's a brick and mortar walk-in basis where you can pre-book appointments. Of course, we love those. But you can also go in and kind of on a whim, see who tickles your fantasy that day. And I think the point of that is to step outside your usual type, right? You could find a girl that's your type, tons of them in this city. But what happens if you just change blonde to brunette, or tall to short, or big boobs for little boobs? You might be missing out on some amazing services that blow the other girls you've been seeing out of the water. You just had to take a chance on a girl that might be 2 inches taller than you. Like, go for it, because you're shooting yourself in the penis. Like, you're taking away your own pleasure potential by not giving something a little bit of a try by being flexible. And that doesn't mean see someone you're not attracted to. It just means give grace where grace is due. And that includes for yourself and your own choices. And give yourself the opportunity to have both someone who's beautiful, but also who gives incredible service, because the service is what you're paying for.
Yeah.
Your money goes to the maintenance of her face, but you're not paying for her face, right? Let's be real. Right. It's for the connection. It's for the experience. It's, the new tricks, the higher mileage, whoa, no one's ever done that before. Like, those moments come when it's unexpected. And we know some of the hottest girls in the industry are actually the most self-conscious, the most insecure. And some of the ones that come in a little lower than that are like, bitch, what? Yep. I'm the hottest thing since sliced bread. And this guy who's never seen a blonde girl before is about to change his life.
Yeah.
They know where they stand. They know what they can do, right? And the power of a woman is intoxicating. So allow yourself to be immersed in that. Go with it. Does that mean every time you try somebody new, it's going to be the best thing ever? No. But if you kind of experiment with a few flavors and a few different tastes, you're going to find your zone. You're going to find your favorite muse. You're going to find her favorite person to work with to do those duos. You're going to end up kind of broadening your horizons, let's say. But it'll only lead you and your penis to the most amazing pleasure. And really, at the end of the day, who cares about those little wrinkles here if you just had the time of your life with someone, right? Who cares if her profile says a C and she's really a D? Like, come on, those things actually don't make or break your experience. It may be a bit of a scanning criteria, but like I said, even the boob size is just a crock, because we barely know what sizes we are, let alone what is a C cup? Draw me a picture. Yeah. Because I guarantee if that person that he draws goes and get measured, they're going to be like, no, honey, that's an A. That's a full A.
Right. And you
It's
know what?
just
I
funny.
wonder, maybe I'm wrong here, but as we're talking about this, I'm thinking, has beauty put more pressure on women in the last, let's say, decade facially? Because I feel like as a
Mm,
teenager, I shouldn't say that, decades ago. As a teenager, there is this like body pressure, and that's what people
yes.
focused on and boys liked. And it talked, do you have boobs? Do you have ass? Or which is it? Whereas now I feel, at least at this age, that there's a lot of pressure facially of how you
On the
look, and
face.
a lot
Yeah.
of the injections and surgeries are facially based, not just body. It's just a trend, I guess.
You know what, as you're saying it, and I'm thinking through my own beauty expenses, I'd say about 80% of it is face.
Yes.
Between the skincare routines, the Botox routines, the filler things, or at least neck up, right? Like hair
Yeah.
done, eyebrows done, lashes done. I like a little bit of a tan, whatever, whatever. It's all in the face. It really
Yeah.
is. I mean, you want some parts to match a little bit. It's be like 10, too. Same time.
You know what
Yeah.
irks me?
Yeah. As now you say it, a lot of it is face.
And you know what irks me more than anything? I'm sure you can remember back to like your last boyfriend or something, but we put in all this work and like cleansers, toners, moisturizers, all the things. And these guys, some of them really hot guys, just jump in the shower with a bar soap Dove and call it a day, and they can just go to the house. It's like, I am jealous. What world do you live
So
in?
jealous. I'd have hours of my life back, way more room in my brain to, accomplish other things instead of all that space about worry or don't forget, your facial appointment or make sure you do this at night and this in the morning and this cream only before this cream and don't do the toner out. Like there's so much thought that goes into the simplest shit for us. Um, we'd be richer, we'd be peaceful, be happier, and they just get to wash and go. It's
Well, but
unfair.
speaking of bar soap, I want to lead this into another video we have to show you guys. It's
Mm,
from the Dove Evolution, and I think it really
yes.
speaks to, I think it's always helpful for women to watch as well, although we know this, but I think it really speaks to the men to show them these images of what beauty is, what actually goes into creating them. So let's take a look at it.
Yeah, let's do it. I love this one. Let's go.
Okay, folks, so grade 5 please, cameras rolling, and we're recording sound. Slated? Sounds great.
I just love that. I love Dove has had an amazing advertising campaign about beauty standards for, I think, a good part of this last decade, actually. They've really kind of taken the forefront, especially, I think, in a good way, targeting younger girls, high school age, college age, dealing with some of those insecurities, and increasing things like not just body confidence, but acceptance and self love, but also love of women in general. It makes us kind of appreciate every shape and every size and every body. And gosh, wouldn't that be nice if it was fair on both sides too? Because we were talking before this episode about how much we love a dad bod. Like,
Right.
y'all boys, man, get it a little easy. But I think along our industry lines and then the push for acceptance, like things like Dove and campaigns like that do, it reminds me of the pressure for photos and photo shoots. Now, when I used to work, I mean, I had a very paranoid boss who operated a holistic, well, originally unlicensed and then holistic parlor. So the incognito or discretion was a little bit different. But there was only one phase for about a year where we had a website and therefore we could do a photo shoot. And I remember being absolutely petrified for that, first of all. I was skinny little Minnie, although people used to, tease me for my weight and things because I've always been thick thighs and some ass. But that wasn't popular back then, right? So I was self-conscious about things. And at that age, which now in hindsight, I reflect going, oh my God, I wish I had my 22-year-old body, right? I was super nervous, super like paranoid about this whole in front of the camera situation. But we see it, I think, 10 times more now in the world we live in now with social media and how everyone selfies every day and all those things. The expectation of photos, the pressure for a photo shoot, that would keep me up at night the night before. I'd be exhausted at my photo shoot if I had to do one now because I'd be paranoid. But there are guys that literally won't come in and even in a walk-in in person meet girls. If they don't have photos on the website yet, or if they don't have a Twitter or something like that, because it's almost against the grain. Like once we put up photos, then there's another voice or section of people that are like, yeah, but they're photoshopped. I want to see the real thing. And so they'll go to their Twitter and see if there's candid pictures and, oh, but she crops this or she uses filters or, well, dude, come in then and see her in 3D, see her in the flesh. Well, I'm not doing that till I see this and this and this. And it's like, pick your battles, bro. There's got to be a little something. Again, you're only costing yourself good times because some of the hottest girls have privacy things. They're never going to have photos on the site. Sorry. They're never going to have Twitter because they share a family plan with their phone and therefore anyone can go on their phone anytime. Like you're shit out of luck. You're going to miss out on a 10 or 11 just because you're being like super weird about wanting the photos. Now, I get if there was only one girl on shift and you don't want to drive all the way to Timbuktu to go in and be disappointed if you meet her. She's not your type. But we've got 6 girls on shift that day. Like, tell me you can't come in and meet the ladies and then decide. We even have other parlors in our vicinity because of zoning. You could do a whole walk around and window shop and find a babe you like to just go off photos, then complain if they're photoshopped. And will she look like her photos in person or will she not? Or I've followed her on Twitter for 4 years and still haven't taken the plunge. Like, come on. And then tell that girl to do a photo shoot. She's going to be shitting nervous. How do you please the unpleasable, And those pressures, I would hate to be a celebrity nowadays. Cosmo wants to shoot, Vogue wants to shoot. I'd be like, faint.
Oh, sure. Well, it speaks to how like visual our world is right now, and it is, and those visuals aren't always accurate. I mean, look at any woman nowadays, especially like a younger generation, everything is filtered. It's not even photoshopped, it's just built in. I mean, my Zoom has a filter on it just for work meetings. Like everything, we are in a filtered world, and then it adds in. We could go on in this episode really, because then you're adding into like in life experiences, having anxiety over those. Like it's not easy for humans, but specifically to women, it's difficult. And I hope you gentlemen take away a little bit of empathy from this episode. And maybe like Emily said, go outside of your box and just pick the girl with the personality, because if we hired her, we think she's great. So give it a try and don't always, it's not all about face value.
That part, underline, exclamation mark. We wouldn't put it out there if it wasn't fantastic. Yeah. And I truly believe all of our girls were hired for a reason. They all have something about them that makes them not only gorgeous and beautiful, but special, and the experience worth the price of admission. And I get having taste and type. I do as well in men. Yep. But at the same time, this isn't like someone you're going to marry. This is fun. This is for fun, for pleasure. It's a recreational, expenditure. It's not something that you're going to have to spend the rest of your life looking at or talking to. I mean, again, you can find an 11 out of 10 that has zero personality and is no fun to talk to. People marry those kind of people too, right? And so those men are going to end up at our front door still wanting to come in. And those are the guys that are going to pick the 7 because they're over the bombshell, because they're just, it sounds like my wife at home. And it can be really confusing, I think, for girls in this industry to manage. Like which expectations or pressures do you roll with and which do you reject? And how hard do you reject them when you do? Because you don't want to eliminate potential business and clientele. At the same time, you want to accommodate, but not have to change yourself. Because at the end of the day, this is a job and a stage name. Right. So are men out there putting expectations that you need to go get facial surgery before you can continue being a real estate agent? I don't think so. Like it doesn't go both ways in that respect. And yet we can be hard on a short king too. So it all depends. But I suggest to girls too, when you date, step outside the box once in a while, because you can miss a gem by just judging someone to be 5'6" or 6'5" blue eyes in finance, right? Like mix it up a little bit, and the flavors and the fun that you'll find will really open your horizons. And in our world, lead to some amazing sexual experiences, which is the whole point.
And like you said, you're not marrying them. It's a 30-minute experience. So try it out. But to all the girls, because I want to speak to you guys, not just our muses, but women of our industry or women in general. We love you guys. We see your beauty, and try to always channel your inner confidence, because everyone is beautiful in their own way.
100%. Let's try to honor that more. I love that. On that note, let's wrap it up. But make sure you like the video, share, subscribe to the channel, follow us on social media. We got some fun things going on social media right now. I feel like there's a bit of buzz. And we'll catch you every week on MUSE on the Mic. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.